month, getting into the Situation Room for the second hour, rather into the third hour this morning. And obviously great to have you in as we continue with those conversations that are necessary to have at whatever level, on whatever scale. Thank you for being here. If you clicked onto our live streams on YouTube and on Facebook and on X, we continue that. A little bit of a hitch before, but that seems to all be sorted out. So thank you for staying on. And also to our audiences on KTN. We're getting into another conversation this hour, and it's going to go political and of mountains and rivers and streams. But we'll get into that in just a bit because our guest is already seated. But before you do, let me remind you that VertoFX is a platform that makes cross-border payment headaches disappear. What are those headaches that you talk about sometimes? Okay, fine, I don't know. Can I send money to a different country if I don't have their currency? Two birds, one stone. On the platform, you sort out the issue of cross-border payments because of currency, because they can do this in 49 different currencies. You sort out the issue of whether I can do it in another country because they're operating in 190 plus different countries. You have another headache of, will my money reach? Yes, it will. And you don't have to worry about hidden charges or expensive charges. It's VertoFX, the platform that's making cross-border payments so much more comfortable for businesses at small, medium, or large levels. And so you don't have to worry about what the traditional issues would have been over time. VertoFX is what you want to do for your business today. Get more information on www.vertofx.com. CT, you've been throwing diamonds. Before we were waving a wand, now you're just tossing them from the skies. Go.
Well, you know, when an opportunity arises, and it presents itself with clarity, that indeed is akin to throwing diamonds at someone. The opportunities we're talking about here is that of owning a house.
Yes.
And Diamond Trust is saying we have a mortgage plan that can enable you to do this. And it matters not that you are self-employed or you are employed or that you're in the diaspora. There is a possibility that once you engage with us and we understand what your needs are, we are able to offer you up to 105% if you are employed. That is the mortgage. If you're in the diaspora, we are able to offer you 80% of what it is you need. And Diamond Trust says, look, we'll do you one better. We will ensure that everything that we're telling you is it. There are no hidden charges, none whatsoever. But we'll add a little cherry on top. And we're saying that there'll be no hidden charges. If you pay ahead of the schedule that we've agreed on, we won't penalize you for it.
Right.
And we will only charge you 9% if you take a mortgage for 10 years, and we'll only charge you 9.75% if you take a mortgage for 25 years. Now, that percentage will remain constant. It will not change over time. Now, why don't you just visit any Diamond Trust Bank branch and inquire for more details, as we say, or better still, let your fingers do the walking. Send an email.
There you go.
mortgages@dtbafrica.com.
There you go. And that's the way to go about it, right? We are climbing the mountain, or climbing up the mountain, or climbing down the mountain. Well, there's a mountain and we're doing something with it, that's for sure, this hour. And that has been done. That has the conversation that has been in, political circles for the longest of times. This mountain doesn't ever actually seem to disappear from top of the agenda or from our lips either. And the Member of Parliament for Kiambaa constituency is John Njuguna Kwanjiku. I said that last part right. And he's in the hot seat this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Du.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
It's my first time to be in Spice FM. And we really follow you, actually. We appreciate what you do most of the time, especially the discussion that you had with Buddy the other day.
Yes.
It was very enlightening. We were able to pick quite a number of things of what is happening within the Republic. So we normally follow keenly to make sure that we are also getting that opportunity to learn and understand, because you may not be everywhere.
Yeah.
But you get an opportunity to understand what is happening on different parts of the country as far as the government is concerned and the national politics is concerned.
That's
And
great.
we really appreciate what you're doing here.
Well, thank you for coming, and thanks for letting us know that. I mean, it just gives us the oomph to keep doing it, every day. Asante sana for that.
Please do, yes.
Before we welcome you properly, you got to tell us Kwanjiku.
Then I'm saying that you have to ask this question.
Yeah.
I come from one community that is very interesting. My name is John Njuguna Kwanjiku. That's what my ideal is.
Yes.
And during my by-election, During my by-election, I had an opportunity to try to see which political name gonna be using, so that at least people can be able to pick it up very fast and move with it. Because people need to remember you within a certain name, maybe a political name. When you tell people John Njuguna Kwanjiku, they're like, it's not coming out. So during the by-election, that is 2021, we had an opportunity to, between Jubilee and UDA, we met at a certain place. And that place that Jubilee had a lot of muscles. It came with a lot, with mighty, especially because it was being supported by the government. Then there were so many lorries, vehicles, and all that. And as we were just in a small corner trying to persuade people why they should elect us, then all of a sudden the MC who was reading our team started saying "car." People started calling me Ka.
That little thing.
As a small person, comparing to the people who have been before me. Like so kina Mbio Koinange, Jenga Karume, Stanley Munga Githogori, and I'm a certain hustler who is just trying life and saying, you know what, I want to try this world of politics. So other people are like, I mean, you're not like those we have had before. So they gave me the name of, coming from the small clan probably, and also not having serious political muscles that were there before me. So they're like, okay, this is a small person, let us try and help him. That's when the name Ka came in before Kwanjiku. And because now we were also politicizing and doing our politics with the name of Kwanjiku, and I was having that name as per ID, they were like, Ako come to Kwanjiku, Ako. Let us try and help him. So that's where that's why the name Kwanjiku
and
came
it seems
from.
to have stuck.
And it has stuck. People don't know John. People don't know Njuguna. If you tell people, if I go to my cousin and say, who is your member of parliament? Ama John is here, Ama Njuguna is here. They don't understand who that is. But the moment you tell them Kwanjiku, they know that that's my brand name.
Sawa. So now we'll give you some work to do. CT goes around the continent every week.
Yes.
And he has a proverb that he wants to share with you, and then you can interpret that and tell us what you think. Is that all right?
Okay.
CT, please give Kwanjiku the proverb for today.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the land of honest people.
Honest people.
Yes, otherwise known as Burkina Faso. Now, this name is derived from two communities, the Maore language and the Dula language. So, Burkina comes from the Maore community, and Faso comes from the Dula community. Maore are a very populous group in Burkina Faso. Now, a little homework for you. Do you know what Burkina Faso was called before it was called Burkina Faso?
Not a good student of history, no.
Do not worry about it. I will assist you. It was called
Upper Volta.
Yes. Yeah.
It's called Upper Volta. That's what it was called. And when Thomas Sankara became president, he decided this Upper Volta thing wasn't working for us. Yes, he decided to give it a name that made more sense. The proverb: if you look for trouble, you will not miss it.
Actually, I think we have a similar saying in our community. Yeah, if you look for trouble, you can't miss it. If I want to see something bad in you, I won't miss anything, because you can't be 100% perfect. So ours, we normally interpret it, whatever you're looking for, you find it.
How would you say it?
How do you say it?
In Kikuyu?
Yes.
Ugetha urudoge wa, kana kiri ugetha thini wakwa ndungikiaga. Yani whatever you are looking for, you find. Whether you are looking for perfection, you'll see some type of a perfection in me. But if you really want to concentrate on the bad side of me, you will get it. You will find it. You will find it, because in our mother tongues, we normally say that no person is 100% perfect.
And it would say it again, how in Kikuyu? That's exactly how I would have said it. It's true. You're right. I would have said it that way.
So whatever you, whether I'm the best person, there, and I normally say it because most of the time you realize that there is a way we are able to interact, and you wonder, these two people have been friends for so long. What happens? Because maybe probably you decided to concentrate on the negative part of it, because no one is 100% perfect.
True.
So whatever you are looking for in me, you'll still find. If you want to see the good side of me, you will always see it. If you want to see the bad side of me, you'll always see it. So it depends with you. How do you want to package me as far as my relationship with you is concerned? So if you're looking for trouble, you'll find trouble. You'll find trouble.
That's true. Okay.
Yes.
So for the longest time,
yes.
You see now it has already stuck.
Yes.
Kwanjiku.
Exactly. That's my name now.
For the longest time, when we talk about politics and the bringing together of regions to have either political discourse or political participation, we can't get rid of the mountain. Not that everybody wanted to get rid of the mountain, but there's always been part and parcel of the conversation. And let's just start off this conversation as we get into it, before we talk about this division or not. That why we don't hear people talking about the sea part of the country. Oh, let's bring in the coast. We don't hear people talking about the lake. We don't hear people talking about the mountainous. We about the northern. We don't hear it as much as we do with the mountain.
Yeah.
What gives?
I think because probably to our proximity to the city, we have been more, and especially also because of our numbers, sometimes it becomes so difficult for you to assume the mountain. And our politics is diverse, especially when it talks about, we try as much as I can to be civilized as far as politics is concerned. But the concern is that, one, you cannot assume the mountain because of its numbers, and number two, because when it comes to voting, we normally voters are broke. The moment we all agree that this is the direction we're gonna take, so we take that direction. And if you persuade us enough, we are able to follow you, we are able to follow development politics. Mostly in our region, it has always been about development politics. But for now, we have started to see something different. It's not no longer about development politics.
Is that really true?
Yeah.
That the mountain has always voted as a bloc?
Majority. Let me paraphrase my word. Majority have voted as a bloc. Because if you look at the numbers since time immemorial, and you start looking at during the Jomo Kenyatta's time, you come to Mwai Kibaki's time, when we had only I'm not that old.
No, do not worry.
Yeah.
In the Jomo Kenyatta time,
yes,
there was a single party.
Yes. Kanu and Kadu.
Yes. No, that was before.
Yes.
The moment that was when he was prime minister. The
Yes.
moment Jomo Kenyatta became president,
Yes.
we had a party, one.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
called KANU.
Yes.
And we had it right up until the time when Moi became president.
Yeah.
It was still one party.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you look at the voting patterns, that, as you say, it is true, people tended to vote for the party.
Yes.
You see?
Exactly.
So even the candidates were party candidates. It's when we had multipartyism that now the discussion of
Started
how
changing.
people voting would come about. And even when multi-party came about, the unity of voting, so long as that region always had two candidates.
Two candidates, yes.
So when you had two candidates, that vote was divided.
Yes.
The time when that changed was after 2002.
Two. Mwai Kibaki's time.
Mwai Kibaki stood against Uhuru in 2002.
Yes.
So
And we had two
there
as
were
well.
two. Before that, you had Kibaki,
Yeah.
you had Matiba.
Matiba.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to
20
after Kibaki,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
that's when what you're saying
Yeah.
now became a reality.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And thanks for correction, because I think I started voting during Uhuru Kenyatta's time.
Oh, okay.
But maybe probably I'm a student of history. You can be able to learn a few things. But even during that time when we had only two candidates, you could tell where the majorities are. Because during the Uhuru Kenyatta's and Kibaki's time, many people decided to work with Kibaki at that particular time. So right now, that's one of the reasons why, because even during this 2022, actually the only time I think we have voted as a bloc as one is during the Uhuru Kenyatta's time, without being divided
Okay.
across whether you are whether it is Raila. We didn't have any other candidate apart from Uhuru Kenyatta. But this time around 2022, even if we were able to give William Ruto quite a number of votes, there was also a good amount of numbers, size of about a vote of numbers, who also went to vote for Raila Odinga to a tune of about a million votes.
Okay.
So, but now because of the numbers that we have, sometimes it becomes, whether you want to ignore or not, you feel like you cannot be able to ignore these people. If you're able to convince them to vote to you as a bloc, then you are certain that at the end of the day, they're going to give you a sizable good number of votes.
You also seem
But-
to use it sometimes as a political carrot that you dangle, and you say, you know what, we will do what we wish because we have the numbers and we have proximity to whatever.
Yes.
You use it as a political carrot often, don't you?
Definitely, we normally use it because we want to intimidate, and sometimes we want to influence sometimes the decisions that are being made as far as the national politics is concerned.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, there is that aspect of if you don't, and that's what is happening currently.
Okay.
If you hear the undertones that are happening within the community and the politicians within the area, is that we have one agenda and our agenda is to remove William Ruto. We don't have to.
Okay.
And you had also another governor talking and saying that, even if you do quite kind of a development that you're trying to do within your constituent, it does not matter as far as you are not aligning to this person. So for the first time, I think we are having interesting times that are on the way, whereby that the development, the politics of development will not matter, because for us, it has always been selling and marketing. What can you be able to do as far as your people are concerned? And you convince your people that I want you to elect me because I want to do 1, 2, 3 things as far as the Aziz region is concerned. But for the first time, we are hearing that one will not matter in the coming election.
Okay.
What will matter is if you are my follower or not. And then, number 2, I'll also sit down and decide whether it is you I'm going to elect or it is you is going to be elected or not. It's not even about the people. We are having very interesting time, It's not about the people.
Yes.
It's not about the will of the people.
Okay.
It's not about what you can be able to do for your people. But we are hearing undertones that if you don't follow me, and that's where the lane started beating us. Even during after 2022 election, majority of us as leaders, there was a lot of threats that have given you up to December. If you won't be following me, if you won't be doing A, B, C, D, I will not be people will not re-elect you. It will no longer matter whether you build roads, whether you build schools, whether you take care of your people as far as health is
concerned. So that is the change that is happening.
That is the change.
But when you started in your preliminary remarks, you said persuading you.
Yeah.
All right. And if you're convinced enough. But I'm curious, because now you're saying it will not really matter.
Yes. Not what I'm saying.
Okay,
what is
that
being
is being said. Now,
you
being a member of parliament, who is a leader in your own,
light.
Right? Mm-hmm. How should it be? Because electors who are listening to you right now are saying, either way, we have to elect you. You need to work. We just had the registrar of political parties here talking about ideologies and principles. And now all this is happening, and it is essentially dividing Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
Is it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I'm trying to say.
All right.
You see, before, it has always been about, even when we're trying to persuade our people to follow William Ruto, we were just talking about the development agenda of the people. It's not because it was not based on the tribal. It was not based on, as a Kikuyu, you have to follow. And that's why we even opposed Uhuru Kenyatta during his time and saying that, you have to elect this person, you have to elect, I'm going to go with Raila Odinga. And as we decided, what? Because we have listened to William, we want to follow this guy because of what he's selling to us as a community. What is he giving? What is he offering to us as a community? And, politics is local. So when I can be able to tabulate and say, as far as my local area is concerned, William has promised we didn't have TVET, we didn't have KMTC, we didn't have roads. And then then when I'm campaigning and try to tell my people, you know what, the moment that this government is erected, these are the things that we're going to be doing. But now, the surprising thing is that now what we are hearing now is that those things in the coming election, even moving forward, they don't matter. What matters is where you are king, all your reader, all person who perpetuate to be your reader that is what will matter in the by election.
I'm sorry.
So it is surprising actually that we have never had such kind of politics within the mountain for the longest time possible.
Never.
We have never had such even.
So what are you saying, that the politics within the mountain was really about development and really searching to make sure that the people
absolutely.
So why then do you have leaders such as yourself or others who sit in those positions who are allowing this to happen? Kenyans depend on you for representation.
Absolutely.
Kenyans depend on you for legislation.
Absolutely.
And here we are saying, well, the wave of politics is sweeping us in a different direction, and we too, like the wind and the waves, are being tossed about. But that's okay.
But I can confirm to you that's why majority of us are not on that line. They are not following such a kind of a politics, because sometimes even if you want to convince people and to lie to them that the politics of the development will not matter, because we've been asking our people, what did we agree on? We have given this guy called William Ruto an opportunity to be the president. What is it that he has not been able to do for us? And when we asked that question before we even impeached the former deputy president, we asked him, because now you want us to get out of the government. And we want to go back again and tell the people, the reason why we want to get out of this government is because of 1, 2, 3 things. So what will he tell them? That we have asked from the government, and the government has refused to do for us, and that for that reason, that is the reason why we want to get out of the government. But when you talk to majority of us as members of parliament, we are still aligned to the politics of development. That's why we are still stuck.
Okay, let's take this bit by bit, shall we?
Yeah.
from your own admission, what
Yeah.
you're saying is
Yeah.
that the wave previously was you are the favorite, Kawajiko, in your constituency, Kiambaa, right?
Yes.
Now, there is the wave that you go with
Yeah.
from who wants to be president. We can pretend, but that's the truth.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
it matters who's running for president, and
Yes.
you're going to be aligned on one side or the other.
Absolutely.
So you've gone to the people of Kiambaa and say, as you vote me, also
Yeah.
vote William Ruto, because he has said he's going to do
One,
one,
two.
two, three.
Absolutely.
Now, tell me, what 1, 2, 3 has then been achieved for your people that you
Yeah.
can say, okay, this is actually, I was able to bring that. And I'm asking that question because I want to understand why you would be able to come back to the same people and say, take somebody else because this will happen.
I can tell you there are 3 things. I'm a 4 things that actually, and this one I'll actually go, devolve it to my constituency because that's where the politics is. And when I tell the people that the reason why I want you to elect William Ruto is because of 1, 2, 3, we have quite a number of roads. That's number 1 that were not done by the previous government.
Like
Which one? There is a road from Gashie, Karura, a place called Gasharage that was a thorn in the flesh. Even during the election, we could not hold an election because we're telling people those 9 months that I was elected as a member of parliament, we were expecting that probably the then government, Lijin, will help us to construct that road. It was not done. But as we speak, I told them I will never play politics with this road because when you elect William, we're going to persuade him the reason why he should be able to help us build this road. That road has been done and dusted. We have another road that is ongoing called Mushada Kayafa. I saw it even on the news the other day when people were here on KTN, people demonstrating. And if you look at it, majority of those demonstrations, they are geared towards a certain member of parliament because our people think and believe that a member of parliament is the only person who can bring development to the constituency. If you talk about the people who elected me, that's number 1. We didn't have a TVET in my constituency.
In
Kiambaa.
Kiambaa. Since
I'm telling
where?
you.
No.
Yes.
Kiambaa did not have
Did
a
not have a
TVET.
TVET.
Okay, what did Kiambaa have?
0. I'm telling you, in terms of development, we've been
Institution
so
of higher land?
backward. Yes. In terms of Lille
You
project.
know why I ask is
Yes.
because of the leaders Kiambaa has had in the past.
Absolutely. That's what I'm telling
So
you.
essentially, we're saying they did not very much.
We if you compare Kiambaa and other constituencies,
Yes.
you will really appreciate other people because from where we are, we have a lot of work to do. If you look at our schools, the conditions, the status have been terrible. So one of those things, we didn't have a TVET. Now a TVET is ongoing. We had a KMTC that was done in a local high school. Now we have gotten 200 million that we are constructing a very serious KMTC to help our people. The moment they finish class 8, from 4, some can be able to access education without the education being that costly. Now the construction of that KMTC is ongoing. Through the NGCDF, Kiambaa is the only constituency now that we are not requesting for school fees. In all our day schools, we have scrapped off the school fees. Having a sit down with all the principals, sitting down and agreeing. This kind of bursary that we normally give you, what do you normally do with it?
These are things that the president said he was going to do.
No,
And
some probably they depend with the reader. They depend with you as a person.
It depends
because
on
we are
who it is.
who it is. Yes. Because at the end of the day, even if the president says that I'll build a TVET, it is incumbent upon you as a member of parliament
All right.
to go and start robbing for that TVET. Yes, you have to rob for it because there is no way the resources will be divided like, which constituency doesn't have? No. A lot of the development that you see in every single constituency, it has a lot to do with the member of parliament.
let's take a break on this point because
Yes.
then we're going to come back and then look at going into because as far as what we see, an election could happen tomorrow,
Yes.
and all of y'all would be ready.
Yeah.
From what we are seeing today,
Yeah.
and then ask the question. Okay, well, it seems as though there's division in this mountain where you
Yes.
say have always voted as a bloc.
Yes.
The member of parliament for Kiambaa constituency is our guest this hour, John Njuguna Kwanjiku. Kawajiko.
Yes.
See, I'm really messed it up. But we continue anyway, and we'll come back from that break and look into those. The KCB Foundation, through the 2Jiajiri program, is welcoming young people between the ages of 18 and 35 and saying, you know what, you can plug into this as well. You have an opportunity to get the much needed skills that you would need to get into the job market or into the business world. And they're going to hold your hand every step of the way. Get onto the website www.kcbgroup.com/foundation.
This is The Situation.
rally behind you the moment that they realize that you're the type of a person or type of a leader that you want. So these threats and intimidations, as far as leaders, if you don't follow me, you're not going to be re-elected. And we were telling people yesterday in a certain factions, when it comes to about the election, it has so many aspects and angles when it comes to an election. But now we are witnessing whereby that each and every day is about a threat. And I sympathize with the president, because now you're being intimidated by people who are telling you, don't dare come to the mountain. If you come, you're going to face this and these consequences. But you're telling the president, continue being objective and continue doing what you're supposed to do as far as the politics of development is concerned. Because the time for politicking will come. And we're going to get into those cars, all of us.
Will come?
Yeah. Whatever is happening, it is one-man show.
Oh, come on.
Okay. Yeah. We right now, and I was telling my people, because even now, we are not doing that hyped politics, that type of politics. And it takes, let me tell you, it takes 3 months for people to change a course in an election. Even one day is such a big time. Before, and I can tell you, we started and you look at the politics of William Ruto and us, we started the campaigning since 2018. But if you look at the numbers that elected William, we were expecting to get about the whole block, about 60-70% of the votes. But people still were somehow like persuaded by Uhuru Kenyatta that, I think Azimio is the best. People started changing their minds slowly. If that election took maybe another 1 month or 2 months, maybe the result we got from the mountain would be different from what we got at that particular time. So at this time, I think there are so many things that people are looking up to. They are looking at the stalled projects, because the politics has been about the loads in our constituencies, in our region. You hear what we call the Mau Mau projects. Yeah. And I hear now the president saying that he has been able to get the money. People have been like, okay, the reason why we support the government is because of development. So if there is no development, then that means as well, let us go and politicize. But slowly by slowly, people have started to see the sense.
So I'm going to ask the question again.
Yes.
Would this be the first time that we would see the mountain split in terms of what you've told us, that you always vote as a bloc?
Yeah.
Because there must be, look, it's not possible for somebody to stand somewhere and see no people. Something is fueling
this.
Absolutely. Something is fueling this position that he's taken to say that there's a huge following. Something is fueling that.
Yeah.
So there are some people who adhere or who then embrace whatever it is what ideology he's sharing.
Definitely.
So would it be the first time that we'd see a split? Because you're saying that, there's no leader.
Yeah. Definitely, because of tough economic times that has been there as a country. It's not only about the mountain, it has been about this country. We have been able to experience tough times as far as the economy of this country is concerned. So someone took advantage of that situation, and especially when people were saying about the finance bill, how do we support our country, how do we move forward as a nation? As we speak, majority of the people probably they are divided, saying that we don't know what comes 2027, but as per now, I think this person is making sense, this other person is making sense. And the only way you can be able to quantify the following is through the voting. People are making noise. People will have their own opinion. People will say what they need to say. But you cannot say that because we are listening to you, we're going to vote you. Have you ever, I don't know whether you have been in a situation whereby someone is he has a very serious following. Yeah? But when it comes to people erecting, they elect the other person, not him, the person who was having the following. So sometimes there is a gap in between, and you cannot be able to tell whether the following can be able to be converted into votes. Because there is what the ideal thing, they're like, hey, this guy is charming. When he takes the mic, people feel electrified. But when it comes to vote, you sit down and say, okay, is this the right person that I would really want him to be my reader? And that does not translate into votes.
Mheshimiwa, let me ask the question.
Yes.
In the time when I was young as you are, which was in the previous century,
yes,
there was this talk that one heard
yes,
around the time when Jomo Kenyatta was president. It was talk that the presidency would never pass the Chania River.
Yeah.
There was that talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And there are those who argued it caused a bit of a division. There are also those who pointed out that during that particular time, the number of ministers in that government from Kiambaa were very many. There were actually many.
Yes.
Moranga had one minister. Okay? It was called Kiano.
Yeah.
Nyeri had one minister. He was called Kibaki. Embu had one minister. He was called Jeremiah Nyaga. Meru had one minister. He was called Harvester Angaine. Mountain. Dandas, Nyandarua. Well, they were there. So Kibaki became president. So clearly, the Chania River was crossed. Then there was also another argument. This one I now heard in this century that Nyeri have had a president, Kiambu have had two
presidents.
Muranga
family.
Now Muranga, surely. Isn't it about time that we also got ourselves a president, or are we going to be playing the role of always supporting other people? Is this something which is or just mere talk, or is it something that within the realms of political discussion people have had? And if it is the case, then right now, given the talk of that one hears daily, because the deputy president will be heard, even if you don't want to hear him, you will hear him, because he talks every day. Okay?
The former. Are you talking about the former?
I meant former.
Okay.
You know, this thing is former. It's former. No. So all I'm saying is, he's from Nyeri. So the argument could be, but you know, Nyeri, you guys have had your turn, because you talk about turns.
Yes.
Now, the things that I've just said, do they play any part in the political discussions in the mountain?
I think they do, because I was privileged when we were nominating the former deputy president at Kalen. Some of the topics that came when William was deciding who is going to be the deputy president is that we can't take Kiambu. Kiambu, they have had their lion's share. So even if we had a good candidate, maybe probably the people who are from Kiambu, we had Kimani Shongo and the rest. So he could not be considered into that equation, because now you guys have had this thing. So then came Muranga and Nyeri. So when you talked about Muranga, Dede Nyoro was considered. But now because of the age, they're like, people will say that, you know, age is a factor as far as the deputy president is concerned. So that's how he was eliminated. So we were left between Professor and the former deputy president. And now because of his persuasive talk, he's able to persuade people. And people voted, and probably people thought that if we elect someone from the east, that is Meru and Embu, maybe the other side might think, you know what, it will not be able to give you the votes, because Uhuru Kenyatta was persuading this other side to vote for Azimio. So there were some balances that were to be done. So that talk is there. It is something that people are talking about even now, and saying, where is the future of our legion? Where does the future of our legion lie? Right. And that's how you cannot assume people like Dede Nyoro, because at the end of the day, because of their age, and having come from Muranga, and Muranga felt like we have never had this thing, so he's still being mentioned by many that probably one day he might, you know, take the mantle of leadership as far as this country is concerned. So those talks are there, but moving forward, that's why even when he was nominated, the former was nominated to be the deputy president, and he persuaded people that in a meeting that, you know, I know many of you did not vote for me because we did a vote, but I feel persuaded we need to win this election, because number two is not winning. You cannot say that I tried, I came number two in an election. Winning is winning. You have to make sure that you win. And so when you did all the maths, we said, okay, we have no alternative. Let us do what we need to do. So that discussion was there. That discussion is there as even now, and people are asking now. Because we have seen, if you look at even the age bracket of the people who are contending and calling themselves the leaders, you can say, because people want to rely so much on the future. Because currently, whatever is happening within our lives, it doesn't really matter. You can't change much. But the moment you start thinking about the future, you must also start persuading people towards a certain direction. So I agree with you. That discussion is there. Kiambu maybe will be included in the talk. Maybe be included in the talk. Eastern, they're also planning themselves and saying, you know, guys, you have supported you for the longest time possible. We have given you our votes, and the moment when you're voting, we are called the mountain. But when it comes to the sharing of the national cake, we are not considered now. We are no longer the mountain. So that discussion is there.
Let me bring up this historical perspective. Do you I believe you're familiar with the 1969 oath? Do you remember that oath?
I don't know. Maybe unless.
Okay. But you do realize that in the blueprint of how Mount Kenya has
Yeah.
been involved in politics, there was
Yes.
a particular point in
Yes.
time where there was an oath that you will vote in a particular way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this has somewhat, because it's history,
Yes.
it's now changing with generations.
Yes, absolutely.
Which worked, I think, at some point really well for Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
But here we are now with this
Yeah.
kinship conversation,
Yes.
which seems to be still haunting
Yes.
this area. And that's why you're seeing some leaders saying, I am the king, I am
Yeah.
the leader here.
Yeah.
I have been, the elders are recognizing me in this particular way. And I just want to understand how you would interpret what that has done to today, all right? And why there's so much you're saying we cannot ignore Ndindi Nyoro, we cannot ignore, but now there has been that pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to believe, because I think the majority of the voters, like now you are telling me about an oath that happened in 1969.
Way
I have
back.
no clue what it is all about.
Okay.
If you look at the majority of our voters, they're in that bracket between now 18 to maybe probably around 45 there. That's where the majority
Yes.
are. And if you're in that bracket, I can tell you no one has an idea of what is happening. And if you see, because the way that our politics has been controlled or done, that's why you have had people calling themselves Mau Mau, Itugati, Komerera. You know, it's a conversation that you're like, okay, what were those? You know, what were Komelelas? What
What
were
are these?
Itugatis? What, you know, majority of the people, and that's why people are like, we want to be development oriented type of leaders.
We want to
Because
be.
i-
So
we
it's
are
still
actually we are
aspirational.
no actually we are.
Okay.
But when you bring now the politics of the tribals and talk about Mau Mau, we need to go back to the history, start reading the history books and say, okay, what were Itungati? And you start asking your grandmother and your grandfather. So when it comes to Itungati, what were those? And the kind of people we're gonna be competing with, they're the young generation. So they will be asking you, what is it that you're gonna do for us differently?
Okay.
From other leaders.
But I have to ask the question.
But
Kwanjiku.
unfortunately, as you also asked, it's somehow, and we are waiting to see whether this politics will be like others, whereby you congregate around tribal politics.
And that's my problem.
yeah.
And that's my problem.
Whether people don't.
No.
Yeah.
That you're waiting to see what this politics will do.
Yeah.
And there's no time like the present to be involved in, because if we take people like you
Yeah.
and others, you know, in the same space,
Yeah.
when we have these political conversations and you
Yes.
have all of this political activity,
Yes.
one really then needs to ask, what happened to the job that Kenyans gave you? What happens to the things that you're supposed to be doing on a daily basis, where you spend 90% of your time involved in all of this political innuendo, political activity, when you're seeing who touched the mountain or who didn't, who is trying to level the mountain, who's trying to sink it, whereby by your own admission,
Yes.
you have an entire constituency
Yes.
that doesn't have a TVET.
Yes.
For very many people
Yes.
who live in that part of the country.
Yes.
Shouldn't that be the focus?
Absolutely. That is the focus. That's why we are saying.
No, but clearly it's not.
No, for me,
Okay.
let me tell you, for me, development is key, because at the end of the day, you'll have a legacy to leave behind. You know, people will not be like, hey, you are erected because of certain issues. Ama, we erected you because you followed a certain person. That is the reason why we're going to give you our vote. I don't think that's where we are. It has to do with more. What is it you're going to do for us? And that's why I'm persuaded that being in government is the best thing, because we'll be able to get the things that you're not being able to get. I cannot be able to compare myself with other leaders, but I have a responsibility myself as Kwanjiku. I'll be asked a question after 5 years. What is it we are able to deliver? Because we elected you to deliver 1, 2, 3 things. When we are giving you our votes, when we are lending our votes to you, what is it that you are able to do at that particular time? So even if the politics of development is what is happening now, maybe, and because we don't know what will happen in the future, and we don't know how the politics will be at that particular time, because we're going to be here, God willing, it will be quite unfortunate that we're going to start now congregating around the tribal lines, not because of the development agenda and what you want to deliver to your people. Because if I deliver that TVET, if I deliver that KMTC, if I deliver that load that probably has, been a thorn in the flesh, the community that lives around those lines, they will also be able to benefit from those developments that we are talking about. But unfortunately, politics is rocco. That times when politics comes, people will start now being persuaded or to be aligned within a certain direction. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe that time, when that time comes, people will not think about development. I'm waiting to see for the first time. Or probably it will be about tribal. Which tribe are you coming from? If you're Laluya, you follow Musaria, you follow Etangura, you're going to be re-elected. If you're Laluo, you have to follow Baba. Even if you build a railway, even if you build an airport within your constituency, if you're not aligned with Baba, you're not going to be re-elected. And that's why we have quite a number of members of parliament who have been elected with Jubilee Party, independent party, even within our legion, because of their development record, what they were able to do when they were members of parliament. And some of those things, they are existing.
Let me talk about development, because now, speak to me as a layman, an electorate. Because first, when you started, you said it's very important that you show people what you have done.
Yes.
And I think one of my colleagues has brought up, or yourself, you brought up the idea of sharing the cake. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, one of the grounds on which he was impeached was the tribal kind of conversation, shareholding kind of conversation. Now, Member of Parliament, you're saying people associate you with some type of development. They see you, they want to see development. The leadership will then guarantee development.
Yes.
And now I am curious here, because in that shareholding conversation, as a Member of Parliament, because there's development funds for every part of this country, regardless of
where you come from,
the lobbying amount you do. Okay, so I'm curious to understand what you meant by you have to get a share of your cake for your people, so that you have something to show. In other words, instead of just using what is yours constitutionally and making use of it, NGCDF, etc.
You know,
what is different? Your lobbying category and what is provided.
You know, it's also within a certain percentage of development that we get through NGCDF.
Okay.
That is guaranteed for every member of parliament. But beyond that, beyond the whatever is guaranteed, you must also try. The bigger cake is left with the national government.
You visit the State House?
You not even the State House. You visit the ministries. You visit the departments. If, for example, I'm interested in TVET, I need to go and look at the master plan of the Ministry of Education. How many TVETs are you going to budget for this particular year? What do I need to do for me to make sure that part of this TVET that you have allocated budget for, because you have the national budget, part of it will come to my constituents, because there is a need. I go to the Ministry of Health and ask them, you are doing set-right campuses. And one of the things that I want to understand is that why is it possible for my constituents also to be given the opportunity of hosting another set-right campus? Majority of these things extra, apart from whatever is given by the NGs, even in terms of the load. Even if you keep complaining and saying there is what the ministry does, there is maybe their budget and their planning, as far as Kiambu is concerned, as far as Nairobi is concerned. But it takes effort also for you to go extra mile, because at the end of the day, they will allocate these resources on the need basis. So if I'm able to raise my stake and say, because of where I come from, and because I have been having this and this trouble, and I'm in this government, I'm requesting probably, can I get 2 kilometers of road? Can I get 5 kilometers of road?
So it's like a bidding process.
You have to, it's unfortunate, but you have to keep pushing for these things. Because when you look at, if you expect things to, to move themselves up, to work on their own, you'll be in trouble, because at the end of the day, you show nothing. You'll have nothing to show, because our local politics dictates that you have to go.
You have to lobby.
You have to lobby.
Okay.
That is unfortunate.
So which takes precedent over the other? That you have to be in the good books of the leader of the day in order to get certain things done. Do you pledge your allegiance in order for that to happen, or do you pledge your allegiance for a personal outlook? You pledge your allegiance so that you can get something for your people?
Why? I'll answer that question with another question. The reason why people look for government sometimes, okay? There is what the presidency always say, that the moment you're elected as a leader, you need to balance. And that's what the president has been trying to persuade us. Sometimes we may feel like, no, we don't want to accommodate
Which
others.
President?
The city
the current president.
The current president.
Okay.
I may be persuaded that we don't need this broad base, because when the broad base comes to the government, it's going to take whatever we were getting. It's like you trying to adopt another two-child. Maybe the mother, or probably the person who has been born in that house, feel like, now this person is coming to take my bread, take my milk, because now I'll have to share. We have gotten 2-3 more friends who have joined us as a family. So the ideal thing is that we would really oppose the broad base, because at the end of the day, we want to get the lion's share of the development in terms of, we told the president, you know what, if you want us to re-elect you in 2027, this is our minimum bargain. You have to give us 1, 2, 3 things. And I think that's where it goes, the president, like, okay, even if I really want this, I must also try to equalize the country and make sure that the development is devolved into all regions, because they're also taxpayers. No matter the fact that this region elected me, this region did not elect me, but they are taxpayers as well. So the moment you become a leader, you must try as much as you can to equalize the resources and development as far as the government is concerned.
Based
but
on
for
that,
me,
do you think that Kenyans should then trust you?
Yeah.
Not just, I'm saying you as a representative word here. Do you think then Kenyans should trust you based on the things that you've said? When we talk about, so I mean, from what you're saying, the mountain in terms of who's going to divide it or not, or touch it or whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't
matter.
It doesn't matter.
So should Kenyans then trust you in terms of what you're saying now? Again, representative noun here, that you're actually interested in the development of Kenya's people, in the representation of Kenya's people, in legislating that's going to be for the best interest of Kenya's people, and that this mountain geography talk really doesn't matter.
Definitely, I think they should, because at the end of the day, the reason why we have an election is because sometimes you have to sit down and persuade people the reason why they should elect you. That's number one. That's on the platform that you're elected on. People need to hear. Even if we are giving you our vote, say yes. Even if we have agreed we're gonna re-elect you, we need to hear what exactly are you going to do for this legion. So and when it comes to a member of parliament, politics now gets local, because I cannot start talking about Nairobi and that's not where I'm elected. I cannot start talking about Bugoma and that's not where I'm elected. I can only talk about the national outlook as far as the law is concerned. But when it comes to lead development, I can only go and look for resources for my constituency. Or maybe even if I go an extra mile, it's for the county, because politics is local. And the way the politics have been designed is that every member of parliament have a responsibility to look for development for his or her people, whether you're in opposition or whether you're in government. So there is that element that, you have to trust us in a way. And you listen to us, because that's what inform your decision. Because at the end of the day, we will have to do an election. We will have to elect someone at the end of the 5 years. So what is there for us is, what is it we are going to talk about? And when you listen to me, do I make sense in terms of what your expectations are? If your expectations are aligned with me, and I say, for example, if you give me an opportunity, I'll build TVET, I'll do roads, and maybe after this 5 years, I can be able to show what I told you that I will do, then I think I stand to be trusted as a leader.
Right.
But if whatever I pushed for, or I told you, or I promised I'll do, I've not been able even to achieve 30 or 40%, then it means that I cannot be trusted, even promising you that I'm going to bring heaven down after the next election.
It's very interesting how people come together to form political parties.
Yes.
You belong to you align yourself with a political party for a reason. And I'm curious to understand what amounts to betrayal. In as far as politics is concerned, because you've had that narrative before. You have betrayed the mountain. This is what you promised the mountain. Be careful not to betray my people. What amounts to betrayal?
That's my point. If you listen to the betrayal, betrayal comes when your people are betrayed.
How?
And when your people are betrayed on what level?
Yes.
That's my comment.
Yes.
That's my asking. Is it? And that's what I was saying. Is it because we promised roads and we have not been able to deliver?
Yes.
Is it because we asked for school and we have not been able to deliver?
Yes.
Is it because you asked for a certain portfolio and you are not able? Then we can say, as a community, you have betrayed us, because whatever you promised, you have not been able to do. But if betrayal, when you're talking betrayal is about me, myself, and I, and now I want to involve the community in me, myself, and I, then I think that is not a betrayal, because there is what we could be working together, a good relationship between me and Doreen. And it doesn't amount that my community now, because I'm their member of parliament, they are behind my relationship, whatever we have, an engagement we have between me and Doreen. And if there is anything personal between us two, that probably did not work, it is long for me to start involving the whole community in my personal battles. So it is always good to define things and say, for this reason, that's why this amount to betrayal. But you cannot talk about betrayal when it is all about yourself.
This view that you express is very logical.
And
it's not difficult to understand. But if in 1 minute,
Less.
How broad a base of people do you think support this view that you have?
Not many. Yeah, and that's a reality. That's a fact.
Not
Not
many.
many. But it's incumbent upon us as the leaders to keep talking it, to keep telling people, this is, if this is what you want to do, it's up to you. And I was telling some people the other days that we are not expecting an angel in terms of a leader to come and lead our country. People sometimes, even committing yourself and subjecting yourself to an election, it's not an easy thing. I can tell you for sure. It's more peaceful. You finish your show today, you have done your job the way you're supposed to. You go back home, relax, wait for your kids, do whatever you need to. Tomorrow you wake up and do the same. But this kind of a job we do, sometimes it takes a lot of grace to know how to deal with the politics, to know how to deal with people, to know how to support them. Sometimes what I was saying.
Spice up your life.
To come and lead this country. So people will have their own faults here and there as leaders. They'll make mistakes here and there. But at the end of the day, are we moving towards the right direction?
That's a good note to
That's
end
why
on,
I'm saying,
And, you can never exhaust these things. But thank you for sharing your insights.
Yes.
It might actually be the first time that
yes.
we've been told that geography in this case really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that it is the will of the people that
Yeah.
must actually be actualized. Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank
John
you, Dune.
Njuguna Kwanjiku has been
Yes.
our guest. Is the Member of Parliament for Kiambaa
Yes.
constituency. We'll take a break and come back after the top of the hour. Good morning.